So at this time, ladies and gentlemen, I will go ahead and call this meeting to order. Mr. Romero, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, sir? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Tivo. Okay, next item is the adoption. Madam Manager, any changes to our agenda?
Good morning. No, sir, there are no changes to the agenda.
Great. So Chair will entertain a motion then to adopt the agenda as posted and deliver and allow Chair to deviate as necessary.
So moved.
Do I hear a second? Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Item C, call to the public. I have two requests. First is Don Robidoux, if you would come up to the podium and state your name again and then just make your comments. And I think next would be Ms. Carolyn Schaefer. If you're on the phone, just raise your hand and we'll call on you when it's your time. So, Don, please.
Thank you, gentlemen and ladies. Just real fast, you've all been given my comments in front of you there, but the one thing I wanted to say was the County Public Works did a great job in what they did to the west frontage road over there. It makes me proud to know that my community is doing such a good job, and I'm happy to know that it's being used. However, the one thing that I did want to bring to your attention, and that is this business of the trees and the so-called mistletoe that have invaded them. It's an insidious problem we have, and it does kill those legendary trees. So if I would appreciate it, all three of you could maybe pat Jesus on the back and say, let's spend a few bucks and get that mistletoe taken out of those trees, because we could save those heritage beauties and hate to see them go to waste. Great. The second item is, some months ago, a Canadian couple purchased this property. You're aware of this, over on Chevis Siding Road. And along with the property that encompasses the buildings behind the wall are several large parcels of land that formerly were being irrigated and farmed. They haven't done that in probably 30 years. But he's back at it again, and you've heard complaints from constituency regarding the dust cloud that they kick up by not wetting down the property first. But my concern is not that. It's just that what are we doing with our groundwater aquifer? The same thing was being done in Rio Rico, where we're growing, cow feed, I guess, for lack of a better word. And I've also heard that that the cows that are now grazing on the Rio Rico property may be moved up there to graze on that land once the crops come in. That concerns me because that makes that a feedlot. And I've heard the numbers in the 300 range. That surely couldn't be. But what else are you going to do with that land as long as you're growing alfalfa and sorghum? So maybe we should look into that. Wouldn't that be appropriate, I think? And the last thing that comes across my mind is the mailing I received recently on the Hermosa project up in the Patagonia area. And judging from the mailing, from the presentation that's now maybe a month old, that's a big project. And they're talking about mining minerals, not copper or gold or anything, but just other minerals, trace minerals for use in batteries and whatnot. Are we aware of that, gentlemen? And are we doing anything to keep an eye on that? Is that a concern to us as a county? Because it's a big deal, and it's going to affect us and nobody else. That's it.
Your time's up. Thank you, Don. And because it is called to the public, we can't respond to any of your comments. So, okay, great. Thanks. Okay, next I have Carolyn Schaefer. Are you on the phone?
Yes, sir, I'm on Zoom.
Okay, is that the 459 number? No, there you are. No. I see. Okay. So, Carolyn, go ahead. You have 3 minutes. Go ahead and start. Greetings.
My name is Carolyn Schaefer, and I am speaking today
as a board member of Patagonia Area Resource Alliance, a nonprofit organization working to protect the water and wildlife of the Patagonia Mountains and the Sonoyta Creek watershed from 21st century industrialized mining. What happens to the water in the Patagonia Mountains and Sonoyta Creek watershed has a direct impact on all of Santa Cruz County. Today, you will hear a report from Clear Creek and Associates to address a concern from the town of Patagonia about the impacts within the town boundaries from South 32's proposed discharge of 1.6 billion gallons of water per year for 4 years. There are many concerns about the quantity and quality of the water that are not addressed by this Clear Creek report. At the June 10th Patagonia Flood and Flow Committee meeting, PARA's hydrology experts will present their report concerning the Clear Creek report and all the critical information that is not addressed in that report. It is very important that the county hear about all of the potential impacts from this proposed activity, those that will impact the town of Patagonia and those that will impact the entire watershed and all of Santa Cruz County. I respectfully request that a presentation by PARA's hydrology experts be on the Board of Supervisors agenda for the June 15th meeting. Water is life. We must not mine it away. I close with a quote from former EP Administrator Stephen Johnson. Water is the lifeblood of our bodies, our economy, our nation, and our well-being. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. Anyone else under call to the public? If you are on Zoom, raise your hand. Or if not, it is star 9 and to
McEwen, I'd like to speak.
yes, please identify yourself.
Steve McEwen,
Okay, Steve.
Rico.
Okay, you've got 3 minutes and the timer's starting now. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, staff, and citizens in Santa Cruz County. I'd like to make comments on behalf of the Santa Cruz County Republican Committee on item 6, the letter to the president. I'd like to commend you for making a notation to the president to get these restrictions from the border lifted. But I think the letter is a bit disingenuous. Prior to the Chinese virus, this board has blamed the recession of the 1980s on our poor economy. And recently, because of the Chinese virus, we've had a lot more business closures. And now you're making a letter to the president claiming that the restrictions on the border are the issue. We would like to suggest that perhaps it would be high property taxes, gross overregulation of businesses in our area, and one of the highest, if not highest, sales taxes in the state of Arizona. I would respectfully request that the board uses a little more creativity in trying to bring businesses back to the Santa Cruz area, primarily Nogales. And I would like to say that one of the things we could do is to start supporting South 32 project, which is a state-of-the-art project, which bringing money into the community, jobs, high-paying jobs, education opportunities, and try to keep frivolous lawsuits from restricting their activities. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Stephen. Anyone else under call to the public wishing to address the board? If you are on the phone, if you're on Zoom, please raise your hand. If you are on the phone, star 9. Going once. Going twice. Okay, thank you. So we'll move on now to item D, current events. Board of Supervisors, Vice Chairman Brecker.
Thank you very much, Chairman Reese. I want to mention something I neglected 2 weeks ago to mention. There's been a lot of work being done at the Tubac Community Center. I'd like to, as far as the front and the landscaping, I'd like to thank Kate Penland for organizing her husband Reed, and the volunteers like Jim Hood and Public Works Department and the Maintenance Department that have gone out there, the people that have donated the trees. It was probably 2 full days of work to plant and fill back those trees, and so it was a really great project, but that was completed, so thank you. We've gotten a lot of calls, and I've gotten a lot of calls about the grading at the Old Krebs Ranch off of Chavez Siding Road. We've had several discussions with ADEQ, both the Water Division and the Air Quality Division, and so they'll be coming back out and addressing this issue. And then finally, the other calls that I've been getting a lot of have been about trash and trash on the sides of the roads. So working with Public Works, we've selected the first Saturday in June to do a pickup. We're going to start Ruby Road and then go to Pendleton and work our way north. So we're going to start that project at 8 a.m. So if we need volunteers to do this, so we'll be getting together at the Calabasas Park to get that done. So, Mr. Chairman, finally, I lost a good friend this week, and a fellow Lion, Bill Stout, passed away. His services are this afternoon, but Bill was really steady hand in this community. He served on the hospital board in Lions for a long time, and I'm sure there's a million other things that he did that I don't know about, but he was a good soul, so we will miss him.
You will. Supervisor Maleta.
Good morning.
Morning.
My condolences go out to Bill Stout's family. He was a true gentleman. Had a busy week. Met with Bella Vista neighborhood on a follow-up meeting, and I want to thank Kim, Frank, Jesus, and Jennifer for setting it up and participating, as well as Senator Gabaldon, Representative D'Alessandro, and Representative Hernandez for giving their input as well. All their input was very much appreciated. We have a follow-up meeting with ADQ and ADOT this Thursday, I believe, and we're going to go ahead and talk about 2 of their major concerns. One of being the overnight work, which keeps people up at night, and the dust issue. Those are the 2 main issues that we really want ADOT and ADQ to work on with us. Coming up this week, we have small counties. We have also our CSA Board of Directors. Looking forward to that. And lastly, we have transitions all week, along with graduations. I want to congratulate all our Santa Cruz County kids that are transitioning, along with all the graduates of this year. And that is all I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Supervisor Maleta, and my sincere condolences to the Stout family at Araceli. Bill was a character, and I enjoyed talking to him, and he was always, willing to raise his sleeves to give a helping hand, so he will be missed. I do want to congratulate the graduating class of 2021, Patagonia, Rio Rico, Nogales High School. Please celebrate responsibly. We don't want any tragedies during this time. We want to make sure you enjoy it and you're here for a long time. I understand Supervisor Maleta is starting a support group for parents that are having their kids go to Arizona State. So if you're interested, please look them up. I know we have one in the audience. And but I also want to congratulate Supervisor Maleta on his Coach of the Year for tennis in our region, and your tennis players that got high honors. I know you came up a little bit short, but you were still undefeated, going all the way to the semifinals.
Thank you.
So congratulations on your run, and hopefully your team will be back. I don't know how many seniors you have on there, but you guys did a great job, and you represented our city and our school district with a lot of honors. So
Thank you.
with that, we will go ahead and go to the manager's report. Madam Manager.
Good morning again. Mercio and I continue to research PSPRS and our unfunded liability and see different presentations so we can present something to the board. We are having meetings regarding our jail medical. Last week, we did a week-long of budget meetings, so I'd like to thank all the elected officials and department heads for participating in those, and we will present you with a budget in the first week of July. I also attended the county managers meeting last week. We continue to have meetings with ADEQ regarding the land clearing issue that Supervisor Bracker mentioned, as well as a residential meeting that Supervisor Malera mentioned, and that does involve our state legislators as well as ADEQ and ADOT. Mercio and I are also exploring, with the help of our legal counsel, the American Rescue Plan Act. And so that's given us a lot of information. The Treasury guidelines came out last Monday. And so we are looking forward to moving forward on that project. And I also would like to remember Bill Stout, Supervisor Bracker. He was also on our merit board, our merit commission board. So he will be very missed through our community. And that's all I have to report.
Thank you, Jennifer. We'll move on to, yes, did you have
Jennifer,
something?
can you address what the testing schedule is this week?
The vaccination?
Vaccination
Yes,
schedule?
sir. So we are excited that we have opened up 12 through 15. We started vaccinating those the afternoon of Wednesday. They were finally approved on Wednesday morning. So this week, so today's Tuesday, so we're at the City Rec Center with Pfizer, which is ages 12 and up, from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Tomorrow, we also are administering Pfizer at the City Rec Building from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. On Thursday, we are administering Moderna, so we have about over 600 second shots already scheduled, but we will also have walk-ins available on Thursday for Moderna. Anybody wanting Moderna, that schedule is 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then Friday, we are administering Pfizer, so 12 and up, from 8 a.m. to noon. We stopped at noon because there are graduations, as you've mentioned, and we want to vaccinate a lot of people, but we also want it to be very productive. So all this week, you can make appointments online through the Santa Cruz County website, but we are also encouraging walk-ins. So if anybody can get to the rec center between those times, we would encourage you to come. We are at 55% vaccinated. We're still leading the state. We're very proud of that and just very proud of our community's effort to be vaccinated.
Great.
Was there anything else, Supervisor Bracker?
No, you got it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer, and thank all those involved. I mean, it's a monumental task, and it's starting to show and make a difference. So I know we get Jeff's reports every day, and I think the most I've seen that have tested positive have been 5, but most of the days there's no positive cases, so good sign. Okay, we're going to move on to item E, department reports and activities, finance, cash, investment, expenditure, and revenue reports. Mauricio, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Cash and investment report. The general fund has an overall balance of $15,659,372, with an investment amount of just a little bit over $6.7 million. The road fund has an overall balance of $2,539,956, with an investment amount of $815,000. The flood control district has an overall balance of $2,949,217, with an investment amount of $1.8 million. The jail district has an overall balance of $3,462,198, with an investment amount of just a little bit over $1 million. Total for all funds, overall balance, $37,881,515, with an investment amount of $12,275,000. For an estimated end of the month balance of $13,412,823.
Gentlemen, any questions of Mr. Chavez?
No, sir.
Thank you, Mauricio.
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to do this, is I'm going to leave the executive session towards the end, and the two items that are on there. I'm going to skip over the presentation just to get all the action items done. That way we can do that. So at this time, we'll go to action items 2, discussion possible action for authorization to fill eligibility specialist position at WIOA. Everything in order, Madam Manager?
Yes, sir.
Chair will entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Here a second. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 3, discussion possible action to appoint precinct committee person for the Democratic Party, Roxanne Lopez, Nogales 20.
Move to approve.
Do I hear a second? Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 4, discussion, possible action, recommendation of approval of application for bingo license to Dusty Prentice, Santa Cruz County, Mustang 4-H Club, Sonoyta Fairgrounds. Everything in order, Madam Clerk? Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second, and under discussion,
Discussion?
are you going to be doing the ribbon cutting, Bruce?
He's going to be the one that jails the first bingo.
Yes.
I mean,
Just kidding.
I'll volunteer to call out the numbers.
okay. Yeah, great. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion or comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 5, discussion, possible action to approve enterprise agreement renewal with ESRI for software maintenance in the amount of $123,123. Everything in order?
Yes, sir.
Move.
Move to approve.
Do I hear a second? Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Motion carries unanimously. Item 6, discussion, possible action to approve a letter of support to the Honorable Joseph R. Biden, President of the United States of America, to urgently request the lift of the border crossing restrictions. Vice Chairman Bracker,
Move to approve.
do I hear a second?
And under
Discussion?
discussion, I just want to thank Brucey for putting this together.
Great, yeah, so good. So there is a motion and a second. Any further discussion or comment?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
This really is a coordinated effort from the counties and the cities on the U.S.-Mexican border. This is something that the Port Authority is coordinating for us, and so I'd like to thank them for their work on this.
Great. Perfect. So any further discussion or comments? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 7, discussion possible action to approve the civic clerk statement of work by Civics Plus Master Services Agreement and contract addendum in the amount of $6,710.22. Madam Clerk, everything good? And this is for the agendas, right?
Yes, sir.
Great. Everything good?
Yes, sir.
Great. Chair will entertain a
Move to
motion.
approve.
I'll second.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Tax valuations A through E.
Move to approve.
Second.
Do I hear okay, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 9, monthly reports. Madam Clerk,
Yes, sir. Everything is in.
they're all in?
Yes.
Ooh, that's a first in a while. Chair will entertain a motion to accept all reports as presented.
Move to approve all the reports.
Second.
Discussion. Oh, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion or comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Motion carries unanimously. Item 10, approval of minutes of 5/4/2021.
Move to approve.
Do I hear a second? Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously and minutes are approved. Item 11, demand Supervisor Malera.
Mr. Chair, move to approve demands totaling $757,035.30, of which $306,855.24 are from the general fund.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously, and we can pay our bills. Let's go to item 1, presentation by Clear Creek and Associates on the result of the third-party data review and hydrological evaluation of potential flow impacts to the town of Patagonia associated with proposed discharge into the Harshaw Creek. Madam Manager.
Yes, sir. I would like at this time to turn the presentation over to Allison Jones, and I believe Doug Bartlett will be sharing his screen. Looks like Juan already has that taken care of. And Pat Reisner would like to speak, make a statement once Allison is done with her presentation.
Perfect. So, Allison, if you're ready, the floor is yours. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm ready. Can everyone hear me?
We can hear you. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Allison Jones. I work for Clear Creek Associates in Tucson, and I'm here to talk about a third-party evaluation that we did regarding a project at the Hermosa site. They are planning on building a water treatment plant 2 that we're calling WTP2, and it's going to discharge treated water to Harshaw Creek. Our clients for this project were the town of Patagonia and Arizona Minerals. The town became concerned about these discharges, and starting in about December, they started asking questions about exactly what the results and the impacts would be. And we started working in January on this project. And we held meetings every 2 weeks with the town and Arizona Minerals to get them updated on how this study was going. So you're going to see, I'm going to refer to WTP2, which is Water Treatment Plant 2. And you might hear me talk about 10 CFS, or cubic feet per second, or 4,500 DPM, gallons per minute. Those are the same thing. 10 GPM is 4,500 GPM. I'm hearing a little feedback. Do you guys hear that, or is it okay on your end?
Yeah, it's a little bit, but we can hear you fine. Go ahead, Allison. Please, if we do,
Okay.
we'll mute. We can probably mute ourselves too if that's causing a problem, so.
That
just
might
go ahead.
help. Okay, next slide, please. So the town was concerned, and rightfully so. These were legitimate concerns. And these were the questions that we were asked to address. The first one was, what happens to flood events if this water treatment plant adds 10 CFS of flow to Harshaw Creek? Do the floods get deeper and cover more area? The second question was, what happens to groundwater depth after this water treatment plant discharges for a long time? Does groundwater become shallower? If so, by how much? And the third question was, if floods happen on top of these groundwater changes caused by WTP2, how shallow will groundwater depths get in the town? So the way we addressed these questions was a pretty standard methodology for groundwater modeling. The first step was gathering surface water and groundwater data for Sonoyta Valley in and around Patagonia. And we accessed a lot of different sources. The town provided us data on their wells and their pumping data and groundwater levels. We got data regarding depths to bedrock from Arizona Geological Survey. One large source of information was Arizona Department of Water Resources groundwater levels database. The next step was we created 2 separate computer models. One to simulate surface water flows during flood events, and another to simulate groundwater depths after water treatment plant 2 discharged for 5 years. And we also simulated the impact of flood events on top of those WTP2 changes. And the outputs from the surface water model were used in the groundwater model, so they did merge at some point. So all models need assumptions, and these are some of the significant ones we made. First of all, we assumed that water treatment plant 2 is going to discharge 4,500 GPM or 10 CFS 24/7 for 5 years. The folks at the Hermosa project tell us this probably isn't going to happen. They're going to be treating this water and using some of it, but in the interest of simplicity and being conservative, we just simulated the entire 4,500 gallons per minute going to Harshaw. The second significant assumption was we simulated the discharge occurring at a point 10 miles downstream of the actual discharge location. We wanted to see what was going to happen in the town and so we just simulated it all, making it downstream to the area of the town. And the third significant assumption was that in the surface water model, that there's no infiltration or evaporation. So that the only way for surface water to get out of the model domain is for it to flow out of the domain via Sonoyta Creek. Next slide. So we'll go on to the surface water modeling. And here you can see three significant watersheds. Doug, if you wouldn't mind pointing those out. The top one is the Upper Sonoyta watershed, the Red Rock Canyon watershed, and the Harshaw Creek watershed. You can see that black outline is the town of Patagonia. And that lower red circle is basically at the Hermosa project, and that is where this water is going to be put into Harshaw Creek. But for the purpose of our model, we're going to simulate the water being put into Harshaw Creek right there in that red circle. So that is important, and you'll see that more later on this. So in the surface water model, we simulated the 2-year, 24-hour flood event. And this, the purple represents the flood boundary without our 10 CFS added. So this is what happens during your normal 2-year, 24-hour flood event in Patagonia. The next slide shows what would happen with our 10 CFS added to that. And if you flip back and forth between those two, you really can't see any difference, as we're showing here. So we decided to subtract the two, the current situation from the 10 CFS added situation. And this shows the differences in those two floods. And you can see in blue, there's zero difference in the change of the flood depth, which makes sense because this is upstream of where the 10 CFS is coming in. Doug, if you could show them where the 10 CFS is being introduced, it's down here. And you can see in that area you have a difference in flood height of between 1/4 and 1/2 inch. And in most of the green area, the difference would be 0 to 1/4 of an inch in difference in flood height. We also looked at the 50-year 24-hour flood event. This is without the 10 CFS added. You can see that there's quite a large inundation area. This is very consistent with the FEMA map. And then with the 10 CFS, you can see there's really no discernible change as you flip back and forth. So again, we did the difference, and here's the outcome here. Blue is 0 change. Green is up to 1/4 inch of change. And we've seen that yellow part down there at the bottom, about 1/4 to 1/2 inch of change in flood depth. These little stripes in the blue and green areas are kind of relics of the computer model. They're not real, but that's kind of how this model works. By the way, these models are industry standard models for surface water and groundwater flows that I'm going to be discussing. So this is, there's a lot here to show, but it's basically a summary of the results for the 2, 10, and 50-year-hour flood events. And it shows the peak discharge at the Sonoyta Creek Bridge with and without the 10 CFS added. So you can see a 2-year flood event is 2,176 cubic feet per second, and we're adding 10 CFS to that. And that increases the depth of the flow by about 0.39 inches. For the 50-year event, that's a big event. It's 12,346 CFS, and at the bridge, our 10 CFS only adds 1 CFS of flow. The reason for that is because, as you saw on that map, some of that flow goes around the bridge. And you have a maximum increase in flood depth of 0.35 inches. So the next section is the groundwater model, and this green outline is the domain of the groundwater model. You can see the yellow outlines are those surface watersheds. You can see orange down there at the bottom, that's the Hermosa project. That blue dot there is where the water is going to be released to Harshaw Creek. But we've simulated the discharge at that red circle. So moving on, next slide. One thing we want, this is a zoom in of the model domain, and we wanted to see what would happen to groundwater levels if you put 4,500 GPM in Harshaw Creek at this point right here where the arrow is. And you let that 4,500 GPM go for 24/7 for 5 years. What would happen to groundwater levels? And as you can see, the maximum groundwater height is about 4.5 feet increase. All of these blue dots, by the way, represent wells, mostly from the ADWR database, and the red numbers represent the highest depths to groundwater measured in those wells. The town wells are located approximately here, and there's one really shallow groundwater level at 7 feet right here. So we'll be talking a little bit about that. But if at our shallowest, we got 4.5 feet of groundwater rise. That does not cause groundwater to come up to the ground surface. The next slide, we wanted to show after you shut off that 4,500 gallons per minute, what happens to that groundwater mound after another 5 years. And you can see it does dissipate. There's still some little 1-foot mounds, but as you would expect, a groundwater mound spreads out and starts to flow out of the groundwater model domain. We took the results of the surface water model, and we wanted to see what would happen after a 50-year flood event, what that would do to groundwater levels, in addition to what that groundwater mound does. And so we used a stream flow routing package in the ground flow water flow model to allow surface water flows to infiltrate. And so what we can see here is the highest, the most water that infiltrates, or the highest addition to groundwater model is down here in this area where we saw groundwater levels rise up to about 2 feet in that area. For the most part, the groundwater level rises are less than a foot, and those increases don't last for very long. Next slide. So our major conclusions are as follows. The discharge from this water treatment plant we simulated to occur 10 miles downstream of the actual discharge location, so we could see the maximum impacts to the town. We added the 10 CFS to Harshaw. Our model shows it will cause flood flows in town to increase in depth by less than an inch for the 2-year, 10-year, and 50-year 24-hour storm events. And that's assuming all that flow actually makes it down to the town. And then finally, the water treatment plant to discharge to Harshaw Creek will cause groundwater levels to rise up to about 4.5 feet if all the discharge enters the valley. There are more. Next slide. Groundwater depths will get shallower by another 1 to 2 feet after a 50-year flood event near the stream channels, but only for a few days or weeks. And finally, flow along Sinuita Creek may have a depth of about 6 inches at the Pennsylvania Avenue and Sinuita Avenue crossing. That's assuming no loss of flow along the 10-mile flood path. down Harshaw and Sonoita Creeks. We have made this presentation to the Patagonia Council, and we made a more detailed, much longer presentation to the Flood and Flow Committee. That is the gist of the study, though, and I'll pass this on to Pat Reisner now.
Thank you, Allison. Pat?
Thanks, Allison. Thank you, Chairman, members of the Board of Supervisors. I just would like to reiterate a few comments I made, assurances I made at the Patagonia Town Council meeting when this was presented last Wednesday, and share those in this forum as well. As we've sort of seen the outcomes of the work that Clear Creek's done for the town that we've collaborated with the town on, I just did want to make clear to the community that we do understand why the town is concerned about flooding from our activities. If you look at the FEMA maps today and even some of what Allison showed just now, it's a risk that's there currently. And so hearing about our discharge on top of that was likely unsettling for everyone that's concerned about historic flooding in the area. The assurance I want to make to everyone is that we don't want flooding to occur as a result of our activities. That's an unacceptable outcome for us, and that's why we've done a lot of work prior to the Clear Creek study to study it ourselves. And the assurance is that if at any point our activities do cause flooding in town, we would work with the town collaboratively to fix it. And I think the work we're doing now on the roads in the town of Patagonia and the collaboration to fix up some of the roads we've been using for a few years, hopefully is a demonstration of that type of commitment. We acknowledge, even though Allison indicated it's an industry standard model, that models can be wrong and they have limitations, and that there's still more work to be done. So what we want to do from here is talk to the town and the county about alternate and beneficial uses for this water, and I think importantly, how we might be able to incorporate flood mitigation measures or actions to address the flooding risk that exists there today in some of our upcoming projects. We also understand the town's concerns with ground saturation, and even though the model doesn't necessarily predict it, should the model be wrong and our discharge create consistent perennial flow anywhere in the town of Patagonia that impacts pedestrian crossings or anything like that, again, we would work with the town to fix it. So I just did want to share some of those same assurances today that we gave the town on Wednesday night. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Gentlemen, questions, comments? Vice Chairman Brecker? Mr. Malera?
I just want to thank Pat for looking at other options to release the water or do something to prevent the actual flooding. Further research more than anything. And thank Allison for the report.
So Allison, thank you so much. Pat, thank you so much for clarification. I know there was a comment under call to the public, and I hope you were able to hear it. But I think what you're doing is good, and I'm very optimistic that you're looking for ways to mitigate any potential issues that may arise with the town of Patagonia. So I'm glad that you guys are working with them. So if you have anything else to add, Pat?
No, Chairman, thank you. I think we, as we start to look at flood mitigation measures, obviously that'll be work in collaboration with the county as well. So those are discussions we like to initiate. But we also have a community advisory panel underway now, and we'll also be engaging them. And there's members from all across the county that are part of that on the potential beneficial uses of this water. So that's another entity we'll engage to look at different ways of managing it. Thank you, Chairman.
Great. Thank you. So if there are no other comments or questions, Pat, Allison, thank you so much for your presentation this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so that takes care of one. So, at this time, I think our last two items are 12 and 13. Chair will entertain a motion to recess our meeting into executive session pursuant to ARS 38, 431, 03A3, and 4, discussion and consultation for legal advice and direction on potential conflict of interest regarding joint representation by County Attorney's Office for the Board of Supervisors and the Santa Cruz Superintendent's Office on the College Career Readiness and Educational Opportunities CCREO Intergovernmental Agreement with the Nogales Unified School District Number 1. Do I hear a motion? There a second?
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are now convened into executive session. Okay, so at this time, Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn our executive session and convene a regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Second, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Motion carries unanimous. Our executive session is adjourned, and we are now convened in the regular session. Item 12.
Mr. Chair.
Hold on. Let me read the item. There's two of them. There's two. Don't get ahead of the wagon here. So first item is 12. Discussion, possible action to approve Board of Supervisors joint representation letter for the College Career Readiness and Educational Opportunities, or the CCREO Intergovernmental Agreement with the Nogales Unified School District Number 1. Excuse me. Effective May 18th, 2021.
Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
Huh? Yeah, no, so at this time, Chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
I move that the Board of Supervisors approve the joint representation letter for the College Career Readiness and Educational Opportunities CCREO Intergovernmental Agreement with the Nogales Unified School District Number 1 effective May 18th, 2021, and waive the confidentiality and attorney-client privilege to include the conflict memo as part of the public record.
Do I hear a second? Second. Under discussion, I want to, for the record, say that I am a governing board member of the Nogales Unified School District, and by acting on this item, I gain nothing. There's no monetary or any other benefit that may arise from me taking action on this. So, with that, gentlemen, there is a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 13, discussion, possible action to approve intergovernmental agreement with Nogales Unified School District Number 1 for the College Career Readiness and Educational Opportunities CCREO project effective October 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2021. Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
And once again, just for the record, disclosing that I am a governing board member for the Nogales Unified School District, and by taking action here, I gain nothing. There's no value on the, or any kind of monetary benefit that I receive. So with that, there is a motion and a second. Any further discussion or comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously, and both items are passed. Last item is adjournment. Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second? Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting stands adjourned.